Welcome, Growth Tribe, fellow entrepreneurs and marketers, as well as small business owners or massage therapists. Today, we're going to be talking about another training with global social media marketing on using Google Forms to create surveys that we can use for our business. Now, this is something that can be used for a multitude of reasons. And why is that, friends? Well, as Project Pata has let us know, Google Forms, that thing, is juice. The reason for that is because we can get access to information fast. We can survey with style. We can add images, graphics, different types of visuals to improve the survey. We can do a Q&A. We could do something like a quiz or a question following up. We can also integrate multimedia, and they're great to respond on the go. They are used for responsive design. There's an embed code. We can embed it on things. It will organize and analyze it so that we can integrate it with our other G Suite product that we like to use, which may be Google Sheets, which is free. And we can kind of then just integrate both of those so that it directly uploads the information from the forms that are created into the sheet, and we can build it together. It's collaborative. We can add people just like we can in any of the other G Suite products. And today, Google Forms is here to stay. With that being said, I'm going to move on to the different types of forms that we can create, right? I briefly mentioned that in our introduction here. We can do things such as event feedback. Maybe if we're going to an event and we're trying to see how the attendees enjoyed it, we can do an RSVP to a party. We could even do a contact form, guys. We could literally have our contact page on our website be a contact form that we create within Google Forms. Party invites, t-shirt signups. I even have one here recent from our Google trainings. Today, we're going to be talking about one that I created with Medicine Hands for massage therapists and how they were able to use their actual medical sessions or their integrative health and wellness solutions and how they were able to report on that, and that might even be applicable to other types of medical professions out there, right? Nurses, dentists, offices. These are really easy solutions that we can integrate into those businesses to improve their data accuracy and the time that it takes to complete those forms, as well as saving the trees, right? We're in 2019. Let's be sustainable and let's save the planet. With that being said, we'll move on from kind of this introduction into kind of some other things that I've seen it used for in marketing, right? I've even seen it used in customer feedback, internal forms for employees. Really, the great benefit here, as I've mentioned in the blog article that will accompany this video, is that we can create surveys through forms in a way that's quick and easy, and it improves our data accuracy. Those are the two main benefits. Other secondary benefits that I really think are important for a small business to consider using this, or any other type of, even in the education world for a teacher, right? Makes sense because we can integrate with Google Sheets and Google Data Studio to make those really amazing, visually stunning graphics and data visualizations in order to understand the data that we're collecting better. So we'll refer back to this blog through our creation of a form. And so I wanted to start with how to create a form today, but then also how to edit it and an example. So I'm actually going to, for today's video, I'm going to go ahead and take a form that was already created for Medicine Hands, as I mentioned, and I'm going to try to recreate it. So if you look at this form on the right, and we're in forms and we want to go to click on new form, blank. First thing that we want to do with our form is we want to title it. So in this case, we used Medicine Hands Tracking and Contracted Hours Verification Survey Form. It's going to be something that they're going to use for their company that they're integrating worldwide now. No longer do they need to fill in a form through written format with their therapist. They can now enter in this information into a computer on their mobile phone, access from wherever they need it without a pen, and be able to do it in real time, update it, as well as being able to prevent any data errors from handwriting, different explanations, or being able to categorize their data better, being able to filter that data correctly. I found out from them it takes about 5 seconds, less than a minute, right, per form for their therapist to fill out. It integrates correctly so that they know that their therapists are filling it out at the end of their shift or their sessions for that day. And it's really been a huge time saver for them. That's integrated well. And I think any therapist, for that matter, could integrate this solution as well for their sessions that they're giving their patients. So we started with a title. That's definitely the first most important thing. Next, from there, we want to describe the form, right? So we're going to say the goal of this form is to attract a number of people impacted from the medicine hand teams. Please fill in the necessary data before submitting the form. So we're reminding people that they need to go through, complete this information, and then we go ahead and we start creating our questions, right? So first thing that we did in their form is we did a session type, right? What type of integrative health and wellness solution are they providing? Session type, massage, music therapy, acupuncture. So we can go here now and we can go into the questions section and we can adjust this. We can change it to be a short answer, paragraph, multiple choice, check boxes. Drop down means we select it and a list of options is provided that we can select. Another thing to note with check boxes is that is giving us the feature to be able to check more than one selection if we want to answer a question or a survey in multiple answers. We can upload files such as video, GIFs, images, things of that matter. Linear scale is giving us on a scale of something that you may have seen filling out many surveys and forms. On a scale of 0 to 10, how would you rank your comfortability with this opportunity? Things like that. It's kind of giving us more of like a range. Multiple choice grid, that's just giving us kind of a drop down to be able to say rows and columns. Then at that point of like we're doing kind of like a miss and match. Checkbox grid, that's giving us that same option, right? Maybe for each row or check, we're now turning that into a grid. Date is going to be kind of a way that it's going to prevent a lot of the date errors. I think one thing that popped up during my time in creating this form with Medicine Hands is that everybody was writing the date in a different way, right? Do you say 02/24/1988, or do you say February 24th, 1988? Do you abbreviate February? Do you put a TH at the end after 28? People are writing it different ways. So how do we prevent that? We can prevent that with a date selection that we'll briefly go over. And then we've got time. If we want to use, let's say we're setting an appointment, right? We could use Google Surveys or Google Form, in the matter of creating an appointment schedule, right? Literally, it's a contact page on our website. There's a time slot for when to meet with us for a phone call consultation, and we can schedule that and integrate that directly then to be sent to our email so that we actually can set appointments through Google Forms as well. Really, the possibilities with Google Forms is amazing. And the tool, while it may not be the most advanced way to collect data, it is a great solution that integrates well with other Google products that allows you to manipulate that data, get it in real time, and also be able to share it either on your website or through email, which makes it very user-friendly, I think is a good way to describe Google Forms. So that being said, we will go back to now trying to recreate this. So the next thing that we talked about was session type, right? So we want to go back to multiple choice. Our first option here, we can add an option. So we saw massage was a service that they offer. So we can make that a selection. We can press enter and then do music therapy. And we press enter and we could do acupuncture, right? At the end here, we could add a other, which would just give us another selection. Maybe it's not a primary service in their case. Maybe this is another, if we're taking a survey, we wanted to collect information on feedback about an event. Well, what great party ideas could you have had for the event? Maybe the options were glow sticks, balloons, and, Twizzlers. And they really would have liked to have seen a mustache glasses that they could put on their face because they thought that would be funny. That could maybe be an other section there. Might be a good case example. So after that, we've got our section, right? The next thing that we can do is we can require that section, meaning that the person has to submit the answer to this question within the section of our form. And if they don't, then they won't be able to submit the form. So that makes a lot of sense in this example, right? These are being collected and sent to the hospitals for information. So we need all of the information to be provided. We will require this to be filled in. We can actually then duplicate the section that we've just created and not have to recreate the wheel, right? We can go ahead and just and re-alter that. We can also show the description if we want to kind of explain a little bit more about the section of the question that we're doing, we can also go to a section based on answer, meaning if we get an answer to one of the questions, let's say we're going to massage, well, then maybe we direct that person right thereafter only to massage related questions. And we can kind of target where that section is. All right. So if we answer massage and we click that as an answer, it would take us to the section 1, which is section 1 that we just created here. So that's kind of the different ways that we can go about customizing that order. We can also shuffle it. I don't recommend that unless you're trying to do a randomized type of thing and you're trying to mix it up, where maybe you've got some students and you're doing a quiz, right? This might be very applicable for the education vertical of you don't want every student to have the same quiz, right? Because maybe they could cheat. But randomize it, have the questions differently. That way, you know that the student has to get the right answer, not based on randomization as much as it is actually knowing the information. So from there, the next thing we did was we did a data service of when these are being filled out. So right here on the right-hand side, we can see we can add a question. So date of service, so we're going to select date. We're going to title it date of service. And then the nice benefit of using the date question feature option is we can use a calendar. What it should be offering here for you is it should be offering to you an option here to select the date, and then when the person enters it in, they can select it. From the next point that we did with them is we did a section where we wanted to know the actual therapist. And a way that we did this to be a little bit more effective was we did is a drop down. So we said, hey, our first therapist, for example, is Carrie. And we did it alphabetically as well. So there's option 1, right? And put therapist at the top here to title it. Then we could give them a second option and do Sally. And now it's a drop-down feature. So these will be selected when we go to that option. And I can show you guys what this form looks like when we're filling it out. The next section that we did in their basis, we did a facility. We can also see that was another drop-down menu, I believe. Yep. And then from there, we went to unit. We did another drop-down. We did client type. We did multiple choice. What's the benefit of using multiple choice or drop-down menus versus leaving a short answer or open-ended? Filters. So essentially, this data will be collected into a row, into a column, and then we can filter that rows and those columns by that information. So it's good to kind of use multiple choice or drop down so that we can kind of filter that data. And then we, at the bottom here, we're saying, have you consented to filling out this form? Do you not want us to fill this out? I think that's always a good thing too when you collect people's information, right? You're collecting their data, which is private information. Have that information there. It's very online and on point with what you see on websites with the GDPR regulations and data privacy and having a privacy policy if you're running Facebook lead ads or something like that. So give that option. And then from there, you can actually create another section. So look at how this is another section completely off from section 1. After we're done kind of filling in those questions, there will be an area here that will give us a section, which is right here, and it says add section. Now we can kind of divide these. When does this make sense? If we go back and we look at this example of one that we've already created, these are all required things that they're going to need for all of their forms, but then essentially based upon their answers at the end here, we can see, for example, that if they declined or they were unavailable to consent to filling out this form's information, we can then just have them submit the form and they're done. Let's say we had something further along, or let's say we were even doing an interview. That's another great use case example. We're interviewing for someone and we're only going to let them move on to the next question if they've answered the question correctly. That is a great option of when to send them to another section, or in the case of a survey, to send them to a section which is only applicable for them based upon the answers that they've sent. What this is called a rule. Very similar to what you might see in Google Forms or Excel and those types of rules that you create to run functions. That's essentially what this is we're using Google Forms as a software and telling that software, if the answer is unavailable, then submit form. If consented, submit to next section, which is another form of information that we will collect data from. That's how we kind of use that feature. So in Medicine Hands example, we used an outcomes tracking form. We have the consent again. It's a yes or no question that we did with multiple choice. We did minutes. We made that in short answer. And then we could kind of say within that, do we want it to be a number? Do we want it to be text or expression? We did the linear scale here for the level of session. In their case, that was example, what's your pain level before the session, or the improvements that you need to make. And then after the session, what is that on a scale of 1 to 10? That's a great way. You might use that again in an interview. You see those all the time with, on a scale of 1 to 10, what is your comfortability with Facebook lead ads? 7. What is your comfortability with creating Google Forms that are a survey? 6. It kind of gives you a more, yes, I really know this, or I don't know type of way. And then last thing that we did is we left for a short answer. I think short answer is good to collect open-ended information, especially in a survey, right? We want to get feedback. I gave you some other examples of, when you could use these things. Internal employees. So let's say we're using a job application, time off, finding a time to meet with someone, survey feedback from customers. We always want to collect more information than just data, but the benefit of using the data of like multiple choice or drop down or yes or no is that we can filter that data. We can also do questions and quizzes and polls and things like that. So now I kind of want to get more into, now that we've kind of gone over how to create this form and I've shown you how to do that. So let's just, maybe end this last little quick thing with the rule thing that we did. So we're going to do required section. Okay. And then we're going to say, go to section based on answer. So multiple choice and drop down both do have that option. So let's say if they answer option 2, they would go to our next section. Hello, section 2. And now we can go back and we can say, go to section 2, section 1, right? And in our form, we've got that saved. So now you can kind of see how we recreated this person's form from scratch. We can move things around, right? We could toggle them. We can duplicate, move sections, delete. We could merge them. The questions box I showed you right here. So it's all the different options, descriptions and title, images and video in the sections. That's it, guys. It's pretty easy to use at a basic level. So now if we want to kind of get into more of the customization of this, we would want to go into settings. What we can do is we can collect email addresses, right? So we want to do that normally if we're collecting it from a customer, so that we know maybe we could use that data or whatever. We might be collecting it for a survey, though, in the case of Medicine Hands, too, where we don't necessarily need all that information. We just need it filled in. So collect email address is good. Response receipts, if respondent requests it, they get a receipt, or if they fill in the survey, they get a receipt. That's really good rule of thumb, too. If it's not something, in Medicine Hands example, maybe that wasn't the right use case because they know that they need to be filling this, but then maybe it also is a good use case because they're getting that notification that the form's completed. We can also limit the responses. Maybe it's a one-off survey. We don't want someone filling out the same information more than once. In Medicine Hands, they do multiple sessions a day, so we didn't limit that. We gave them that feature so that they could do 10 tracking and contracted hours survey forms to complete in a day. Respondents then can edit after submit. You can actually not save a form. So really the only way that you're going to be able to change a form once you're working on it, my recommendation is have a good a Wi-Fi internet connection, whatever it be, and fill out the form during that time and then submit it. And then once you submit it, you can always go back and change it. If you lose internet connection or try to save it, that's not possible. And then you're going to have to redo the form all over. So better to at least try to submit it and then edit it after, if that feature is turned on. If it's not, really the only option that you're going to have is just to try to be able to fill out the form in the time that's required and make sure that it's submitted, and hope that it's sent over in time. That's the only option that you have available right now. We can also see summary of charts and text responses of what that looks like if we want to give that to our respondents. Now, when we are presenting this, I do like to turn on the show progress bar. That gives us that little bar at the bottom that says, hey, you're progressing through the questions. You've completed 20 to 40%. We can shuffle the question order. We can show a link to submit another response. That's a great use case example, again, of, in the case of Medicine Hands, maybe they have 10 sessions that they've done that day. I need to fill out another form. As soon as I submit this one, we can just, or go ahead and just have them submit this new form with that link, and then give them a response. Thanks for submitting the form, and we appreciate you providing us with this information. You might do something else with this confirmation message. Let's say if it's a contact form, where we've put it on our website and we're on the contact page. This is our follow-up message once they've contacted. Hey, thanks for submitting the form. We appreciate you providing us with this information. We will be in contact with you within 24 hours. And please feel free to call us at 770-365-5550 to talk more about your social media marketing needs, right? Let's say if we're doing that from our contact page for global social media marketing, we're giving them, thanks for submitting the information. We're giving them our phone number. Maybe they call us. We're continuing to kind of create that conversation after the form's been submitted, if it makes case. Maybe if it's just a form or customer feedback, it's just say, thanks for the data. We've collected your information. We really appreciate you taking the time, and that's it. Other thing we can do is we can make this a quiz, right? So this would be very applicable for the education vertical. We could do grades where we can release that. We could do it manually. We can do allowing people to see if the questions were wrong or if they were right, if we're going to point to different values. Really an awesome tool for teachers in 2019 to just create their quizzes through Google Forms. But for today's video, we're talking more about how to create a survey. I've walked through kind of now how to create, how to move things, edit things, basic settings. The other thing that we can do is we can now view this form, right, of what it's going to look like. We can go back now and we can go to edit, and we can now customize the theme a little bit. That's another really nice thing that we pointed out earlier in the video. So maybe we want to change the color and make it pop. We could even do a background color that we can change. We can change the font. Maybe we want to be a little bit more playful. And we could even have a header image. Maybe we'll do some fireworks. See how that looks. It looks a little bit nicer now. Try to make something relevant there. Maybe I could have used a picture of them in with their hands, or with them of someone, that's an actual patient, or one of the massage therapists, a picture of them or something like that, or even their team. We can really kind of customize that, which is nice and pretty simple, right? Last thing here is, doing an integration. So let's say we want to be notified when our forms are filled out. We can do that. And looking at our responses, right? Where do the responses go? Well, we can accept the responses and turn them off, and then it's going to go to a Google Sheet. So we're going to need to select that response destination, and we can do an existing spreadsheet, or we can do a new one. So we don't have one, so we're going to do create new one, right? Now it's linked to that spreadsheet, and we can go click on that spreadsheet and see the information that will be filled in, right? So in the Google Sheet, it will allow us to do this. So let's say we had submitted the form, right? And it'll even tell you when the form was submitted. Let's say it's 10:07 a.m. and the session type was a massage, and the date of service was 05/14/2019. And this is a duplicate because we had that. Therapist was, let's just say Joe Schmo. From there, if we had a number of different types of data points, right, maybe we can kind of manipulate the data now and see within the function of the column, if we want to do data, create a filter, and now do sort that filter. We could sort by all the people that only had the massage session type. So now you're seeing why the Google form is a very nice integration with Google Sheets or as a survey, because now we can take that data, collect it, and manipulate it and turn it into visualizations. That's a really great kind of overall data solution for any company or educational school for that matter. We'll see those responses, they'll get collected in there, and now you're integrated. So kind of to close the final last things with this is that we can do some things where we add collaborators, right? Maybe I have a team, I want to add some of the massage therapists. I'll just use my other Benjamin email at Global Social Media Marketing. Now they've got that. Only can access, I can change the private level of it. Do I want it on the web? Anyone with the link, only specific people. We'll just do with the link for now. Now that's sent, so now that person has access to it. They can fill it out. They can access it when they need it. We can change those types of levels. We can also look at the preferences. Do we want to collect the email, make things required, point values, those type of things. We could move it to trash. We could make a copy of this form. We could get pre-filled links. We can even print our forms. So here's kind of where, let's say we collect all this information, where does it go? We have that spreadsheet, but then let's say we want to send it to some other people. Well, we can go here to send, and we can actually send it to someone's email. We could, include the form that's been filled in the email with our subject and adding collaborators. We could just send a link, right? That might be very cost effective or easier for someone. I can text someone on their phone a link. They can access it on their phone. I can put it in an email. I don't have to send them to a website page. It's just a link. And we can actually even embed it. So I can literally take the embed code on the HTML, and let's say I'll just go give you a really quick example. If we were going to integrate a form on a WordPress website, because that's what 69% of the websites in today's world are built on, and we wanted to do a new post, title, hello survey. Now we can come in here, if anyone knows Gutenberg, and we can put that in as HTML and publish it. And now we can view the post. And there we go. Look at that, guys. It's beautiful. We've got a nice form that's on our website, and we can submit the form, and we don't have to have any users leave the form. Now, one thing that I did run into some issues most recently in 2019 is that you need to be careful about how this functions. You might submit the form and go to the next page, and it might take you to the bottom versus the top. You can see the design is a little bit different on how it looks on my website. Why? Because we have our own theme. We have our own kind of internal coding of HTML and CSS, which may be styling or formatting that form differently. So best practice, I think, is to try to use the form directly. The most preventative way from having issues, I guess, is the way to answer that. So you don't want to run into any further website development, and you can kind of keep it more private that way too, right? Unless it's something where you're like doing a contact information form, that makes sense, right? We're having them contact us. People can do that publicly and we collect that information. But maybe it's like a survey like this where we don't want the general public seeing it. We don't necessarily need to have that on our website. Create the link, send it, and there you go. So I've just shown you guys all of the amazing ways in which you can use Google Forms to create surveys, collect data. Some other final things I just wanted to note: there's an accompanying blog that explains, how many emails can you get sent from your form. What's the best way to send your forms? I had mentioned Google Sheets, emails, things like that. You might look into also automating things in the future with other integrations such as Google Data Studio. We're going to be doing a video later on that later this year, as well as a presentation at Upstate Technology Conference. And then there's some add-ons that you can use. Look into Form Publisher, guys. It's one that I recently discovered where you can actually take your Google Forms and make them into any other Google product. So you can make it a Google Doc, a Google Sheet, a Google Slide, a PDF. It's allowing you to, in a way, create this more visual representation of that data. And that's really important when people are looking at reporting or you're presenting to other businesses. Paint the story and remember that visuals and pictures tell 1,000 words over text, and don't make things so text heavy sometimes. So I hope this has been helpful. I've shown you an example of how to create a form and the dramatic impact it's had for a massage therapy client of mine, or an integrative health and wellness solution clinical provider that has now been able to eliminate data error with handwriting, being able to complete forms, collect that data, integrate it, and create better visualizations so that they can save their time and focus on what they need to focus on, which is their business. I hope that you've enjoyed this explanation of how to use Google Forms today and the different cases in which you can create a survey. If you like the video, please give it a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel.